Jace walked slowly through the narrow tunnel. The air was hot and dirty, full of smoke and strange smells. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor as he moved deeper underground. He passed flickering lights, broken pipes, and faces that disappeared quickly into the shadows. No one talked here, no one made eye contact. This was not a place for kindness. This was the Black Cell Market, the darkest place on this planet. A place where money bought anything, even life. Jace kept his face calm. He looked like a buyer, but inside, his heart was heavy. He had heard rumors. A young alien girl, still alive, was being sold for butchering. She was just a child. But labeled as meat, Jace didn't come to buy food. He came to find her. The auction hall was hidden behind a rusted door with a glowing red lock. He scanned his ID chip and the door opened with a hiss. Loud music hit his ears, mixed with cruel laughter and the sounds of cages rattling. Bright lights flashed over rows of creatures, each one trapped behind energy bars. Some were crying, some were silent. Most had already given up. He walked past them with a cold face, pretending to not care. But his eyes searched carefully, then in the far corner, he stopped. There she was, a small alien girl, maybe 9 or 10 years old in human age. Her skin was a soft silver blue. Glowing faintly in the dark, she was barefoot, wearing only a torn blanket. Her arms had bruises, and her ankle was chained to the cage floor. But what caught Jace's attention was her face. She didn't cry, she didn't scream. She just looked at him, calm and quiet, as if she already knew what would happen. A metal tag hung from her cage. Specimen X91, butcher grade. People walked by her without even looking. One man laughed and said, "That one? Not even worth skinning." But Jace knelt in front of her cage, their eyes met. The girl didn't move. She just whispered one word. "Why?" Jace didn't answer. Not yet. He stood up and walked over to the auctioneer, a fat man with gold teeth and a voice like sandpaper. "How much for X91? Jace asked. The man laughed. "That piece? She's not good for work or pleasure, only meat." "I'll pay full price," Jace said. The room went quiet for a second, then the auctioneer blinked. "Full price? For that thing? You serious?" "Yes," Jace said, calm and firm. "I want her." No arguments, the man shrugged. "Fine, your credits, your choice." He pressed a button and the cage door opened with a buzz. The girl didn't move, she just stared at Jace, confused. "Come on," he said softly. "You're free now." She didn't believe him at first. No one ever said those words to her. But slowly, carefully, she stood up. Her legs were weak, but Jace held her gently. He lifted her into his arms, and she didn't resist as they walked toward the exit. People watched in silence. Some laughed, some whispered. One guard muttered, "Dead weight won't last a day." Jace didn't care. He kept walking, but in the shadows, someone else was watching too, not laughing, not whispering, just watching. Outside the wind was cold, the sky dark. Jace moved quickly through the back alleys, holding the girl close. Her body was shaking, but she didn't cry. She just asked again softly, "Why?" He looked down at her, his voice low. "Because no one should be treated like meat. You're not an animal. You're a person." For the first time, her eyes widened like she heard something impossible, something forbidden, she whispered. They called me nothing," Jace replied. They were wrong. Just as they turned the corner, a small red light blinked behind them. The camera above the auction door moved, following them. And deep in the black market's hidden room, a man picked up a radio and spoke into it. "Target purchased," he said. "They're moving now. Follow them." Back in the alley, Jace didn't know what was coming. He only knew one thing: he had paid the full price. Not for a body, but for a soul. And he would protect her no matter what it cost. The girl sat quietly in the corner of Jace's small transport pod. Her silver blue eyes reflected the flickering lights as they flew through the city's dark sky tunnels. Jace's hands moved quickly on the controls. Guiding the pod through secret routes, he didn't look back. But he could feel her eyes watching him. The silence between them was heavy. Outside, thunder rolled across the clouds. At the Black Cell Market, word had already spread. A human had paid full price for a butcher-grade alien girl. Traders whispered that he was crazy. Hunters laughed and said he'd just wasted his credits. But some men didn't laugh, some men made calls. Because no one spends that much money without reason. Jace parked the pod under an old bridge and turned off the engines. The hum faded, leaving only the soft sound of rain hitting metal. He finally turned to face her. "You can talk now," he said quietly. "What's your name?" The girl hugged her knees and looked down. I don't remember," she said. "They called me X-91. Jace frowned. "That's not a name." She looked up at him, eyes wide and unsure. "Then, what am I?" Jace's voice softened. "You're free. That's what you are." But freedom was a strange word for her. It didn't sound real. It sounded like a story someone made up to make her feel better. She whispered, "Free people don't wear collars," and touched the cold metal ring around her neck. Jace leaned closer, scanning the collar with a small handheld device. A red light blinked. He frowned. The screen flashed. "Biolinked tracking system armed." His heart stopped for a moment. "Damn it," he muttered. The collar wasn't just a tracker, it was a bomb. If they tried to remove it the wrong way, it would kill her instantly. The girl watched his face and understood. Her voice trembled. "They don't want me to leave alive." Jace met her eyes. "Then we'll make sure they don't get what they want." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small EMP chip. He pressed it against the collar, hoping to disable the signal. The device beeped 3 times and went quiet. The collar stopped blinking, but it didn't fall off. It just went silent for now. That was enough. Suddenly, Jace's comlink buzzed. He glanced at it. An encrypted message appeared on the screen. "They're coming. You've got 10 minutes. His old contact from the Resistance must have heard. Jace cursed softly, started the engines again. The girl looked scared now. "Who's coming?" "People who think you belong in a cage," he said. "Hold on!" The pod shot out from under the bridge and into the storm. Lightning flashed across the sky. They raced between broken towers and flying debris in the mirror. Jace saw lights following, small black drones cutting through the rain like knives. The hunters had found them. He activated the pod's stealth mode. The lights dimmed. The engine sound faded. For a moment, they were invisible in the clouds. Jace's hands shook slightly on the controls. He wasn't scared for himself. He had faced worse. But the thought of the girl being caught again made something inside him burn. The girl whispered, "You don't have to save me," Jace replied. "Maybe I don't, but I will." She looked at him strangely. No one had ever said that to her before. A red light flashed on the control panel. "Warning, signal detected." The tracker on the collar had reactivated. Jace's jaw tightened. "They locked onto you again," he said. Before she could answer, a blast hit the back of the pod. The shockwave threw them forward. Sparks flew across the cabin. Jace grabbed the controls, forcing the pod down. They crashed through a layer of clouds and came out over the dark ruins of the old city. He landed hard between 2 broken towers. The engine sputtered and died. Smoke filled the air. Jace coughed and checked the girl. She was shaking but alive. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. He could see tiny tears running down her cheeks. But she didn't cry out. Then from the shadows, voices echoed. "They're here," Jace whispered. He pulled out his blaster and stepped out of the pod. Rain poured over him, cold and heavy. Figures moved through the darkness, 3 men in dark armor. "Weapons ready," one shouted. "Hand over the specimen, and you live." Jace raised his gun. Not happening. They fired first. Red beams of energy cut through the night. Jace rolled behind the metal wreck. Returning fire, he hit one of the hunters. The man fell screaming. The others closed in. Jace shouted, "Stay inside!" But the girl didn't listen. She stood at the pod's door, hands glowing softly blue. The rain around her seemed to stop for a second. And then, her eyes flared bright. The remaining hunters froze in place. Unable to move, their guns fell from their hands. Jace stared, shocked. The girl collapsed. Unconscious, the light faded. He ran to her, lifting her gently. "What did you just do?" he whispered, but she didn't answer. Her breathing was weak, her body trembling. He carried her back into the pod and looked up at the burning sky. He knew one thing now: this girl was no ordinary being, and whoever created her would never let her go easily. As the storm raged outside, Jace whispered softly, "You're safe for now. But they'll come again, and next time I'll be ready." Jace stared at the girl lying unconscious in the pod's medical bed. Her skin was pale and glowing softly like the last light of a dying star. He had wrapped her in a warm blanket, connected her to the ship's emergency systems. Her heartbeat was weak but steady. She had saved him just an hour ago, stopped the hunters without touching them. He had never seen anything like that before. Not from a child, not from any alien he had ever met. Jace sat beside her, watching her chest rise and fall. A question burned in his mind, what are you? He reached for his old med scanner and started running tests. The device beeped slowly, confused by her biology. Her DNA didn't match anything in the system, not human, not any registered alien species. Then the scanner blinked red. Warning, classified genetic code detected, access denied. Jace blinked. Classified? Someone powerful didn't want her data exposed. Before he could say more, the ship's AI voice whispered coldly. Unauthorized entity on board, tracking beacon active. Jace's head snapped up. What? The AI repeated. Beacon signal reconnected. She's being tracked. Jace jumped to the pilot seat and scanned the skies. Several red dots blinked on the radar, moving fast. He cursed under his breath. The EMP he used earlier had only paused the collar signal. Now it had rebooted, and worse, someone was using it to locate them again. He activated the ship's emergency launch. The engine screamed to life, shaking the walls. The girl groaned softly but didn't wake. Jace strapped her down, then jumped into the pilot chair. The radar showed drones already closing in from the west. There was no time to think, only fly. The ship rose sharply, engines firing bright blue trails across the broken skyline. They climbed fast, aiming for the upper atmosphere where signals were harder to trace. But just as they reached the edge of the sky dome, the screen flashed red again. Warning, airspace grid blocked, escape route denied. He tapped the screen in disbelief. Someone had activated an old planetary defense system. An invisible net now covered the entire upper sky. If they tried to pass, the ship would be shot down. They're sealing us in, Jace muttered. They don't want her to leave the planet alive. He pulled the ship into a steep dive. Flying just above the rooftops, he weaved between towers, avoiding the patrol drones that swarmed the sky like black insects. The city below was broken and dark, remains of a war long forgotten. But Jace knew these streets years ago. He had fought here as a soldier. Now he returned as a guardian. A voice came through the comms. Unregistered ship. Land immediately. You are carrying stolen property, Jace growled. She's not property. He turned off the channel and pushed the engines harder. Behind him, 2 enemy ships closed in. He twisted between narrow towers, flying low and fast. One enemy ship clipped a wall and exploded. The other stayed close, firing warning shots. Inside the ship, the girl stirred. Her eyes opened slowly. Confused and full of fear, she whispered, "Why are they chasing us?" Jace didn't look back. "Because you're special," he said. "And powerful." She held her head. "It hurts." "My mind feels loud." Jace's voice was calm. "Try to rest. We're not safe yet." The ship dived into an old tunnel entrance below the city ruins. The ceiling almost touched the wings, but Jace flew like a ghost through the dark. He activated stealth mode again. The enemy ship couldn't follow underground. Soon the radar was clear, for now they were hidden. Jace landed deep inside the forgotten tunnels. Everything was silent except the hum of the engines cooling down. He finally breathed again. He walked back to the girl kneeling beside her bed. She looked at him with wide eyes. "You risked your life for me," she said. "Why?" Jace didn't speak at first, then he said softly, "Because someone once risked their life for me. My brother. He died saving alien children from a lab like the one you were in. I wasn't brave enough back then. But I won't fail this time." Tears filled her eyes. "No one's ever come back for me. I thought I was meant to be alone." "You're not alone anymore," Jace said. "Not while I'm breathing." Suddenly the AI voice returned. Biosignature scan complete. Subject Class Omega Entity. Alert. Forbidden technology detected in her bloodstream. Jace froze. What did that mean? "Define forbidden," he asked. The AI answered slowly. "Nanite-based royal engineering. Linked to pre-war prototypes capable of planetary command functions." He looked at the girl again, now realizing she wasn't just a test subject. She wasn't even just rare. She might be a key to something ancient, something dangerous, something everyone wanted to control. "She's not just powerful," he whispered. "She might be the last of a weapon race." The girl looked scared again. "I don't want to be a weapon." Jace took her hand gently. "Then we won't let them use you. We'll find another way." Outside, deep in the shadows of the broken city, a drone recorded their every move far away. A figure in a black control room watched the feed in silence, then gave the order. Seal the tunnels. Don't let them reach the sky. The tunnel was silent. Too silent, Jace stood near the ship's scanner, eyes locked on the blinking map. He watched red dots moving above them. Enemy drones were searching the city, scanning every rooftop and broken wall, but for now, the underground system was still hidden, still safe. For now, behind him, the girl sat on the floor, her knees hugged to her chest, the blanket wrapped tightly around her small frame. She looked tired but awake. Jace glanced at her, wondering again. Who are you really? He grabbed a second scanner, an old military-grade med tool. He sat down beside her and smiled gently. I'm going to run another scan, he said. Not to hurt you. I just want to understand. She nodded slowly. I don't like the collar, she whispered. It makes my skin burn. Jace reached over and gently touched the edge of the collar. It's locked to your DNA, he said. I think I can disable it if I understand your body better. The scanner buzzed softly as it read her cells. Lines of data rolled across the screen and Jace's eyebrows pulled together. There were things in her body that made no sense. Organic tissue mixed with living metal, blood cells that responded to electromagnetic pulses, and deep inside something glowing. Something hidden. He tapped the screen, zooming in on the image. There, wrapped around her heart, was a small black crystal. It pulsed like it was alive. What is that? He whispered. The ship's AI answered before he could ask again. Royal Forge Core detected. Artifact linked to the lost crown systems of the Alpha sectors. Jace's heart skipped a beat. He had read about that once in classified reports during the war. They were building royal-class hybrids, creatures who could speak to machines, control cities, and shut down weapons with their minds, but the program had failed, or so they said. Everyone believed all test subjects were destroyed, but now one was sitting right in front of him. A little girl too young to even understand what she was. He stared at her, amazed and scared at the same time. You're not just special, he said softly. You were made for something. The girl's eyes filled with worry. Made? To do what? To fight? To kill? Jace shook his head. No. Maybe others wanted that. But I think you're meant to choose, not be used. She looked at her hands. I didn't choose the light inside me. It hurts sometimes. When I get scared, it comes out. Jace leaned closer. You saved my life with it. That wasn't just power, that was choice. For a long moment, they just sat in silence. Rain dripped from the tunnel ceiling far above. Engines roared, search teams moving again. The girl finally asked, Do I have a name? Jace smiled gently. No, he said, not yet. Do you want one? She nodded slowly. I want to feel real, she whispered. Not like a lab thing. He thought for a second, then said, What about Leary? It means free soul in an old Earth language. Her eyes lit up softly. Leary, she repeated, I like that. He smiled. Then it's yours. Suddenly the lights inside the tunnel flickered. The AI's voice returned, sharp and urgent. Tunnel breach detected, Sector D7. Enemy forces inbound. Jace jumped to his feet. He ran to the control panel and pulled up the camera feed. Soldiers in black armor were coming through the old sewer gates. They were sweeping the tunnels, closing in fast. We have to move, he said, turning back to her. Now. He scooped Leary into his arms and ran toward the back of the tunnel. The walls shook as a small explosion echoed behind them. Dust fell from the ceiling. They're blowing through, Jace said, his voice tight. They're not here to talk. He reached a rusted metal door and punched in an old code. The door creaked open, revealing a narrow maintenance shaft. He stepped inside, careful with every move behind them. Distant voices shouted, Closer now. Jace pulled the door shut behind them and climbed the old ladder with Leary held close. Her head rested on his shoulder. I'm sorry, she whispered. This is because of me. No, Jace said firmly. This is because they're afraid of you. And people fear what they can't control. They reached the top and pushed open a hatch. Cold air hit their faces. They had surfaced in the middle of a dead garden. Hidden by broken stone walls, the city looked quiet. But the silence was fake. Jace could feel eyes watching from somewhere. He tapped his wrist device and activated a signal. A tiny beacon lit up under his skin far away in deep orbit. A forgotten satellite blinked awake. Jace spoke into the link. Echo 7. This is Ghost One. I've found her, Static answered. Then a voice replied, Copy that, Ghost One. Is the package stable? She's not a package, Jace growled. She's a person. The voice hesitated. Understood, it said. We'll prepare extraction, 1 jump ship inbound. Leary looked up at him, her voice small. What if they catch us before your friends come? Jace placed a hand on her shoulder. Then they'll have to go through me first, far behind them. In the deep shadows of the tunnel, something new woke up. Not a drone, not a soldier, but something older. Something that remembered Leary's name even when she didn't. And it began to follow. The old garden was quiet. The wind whispered through broken stone arches. Carrying the scent of moss and dust, Jace stood still, scanning the area. Holding Leary's hand tightly, she looked up at him, eyes glowing softly in the moonlight. She felt something coming far above. The sky flickered as clouds passed over the stars. Then, a sharp whistle cut through the silence. A dark shape dropped from the sky and landed hard on the cracked ground. Jace's blaster was already in his hand. He aimed, ready to fire. The thing stood up slowly. It wasn't human. It was tall, thin, and covered in black armor that moved like liquid. Its face was hidden behind a smooth, silver mask with no eyes, no mouth, just silence. Leary gasped and stepped back. She whispered, "That's not a soldier." Jace narrowed his eyes. "No," he said. "That's a Reaper." Reapers were not part of any army. They were private hunters, created to collect special targets. No mercy, no voice, no rules. They didn't take prisoners. They only delivered bodies. Jace fired first. The blast hit the Reaper in the chest, but it barely flinched. It moved fast, too fast. Jace ducked as a blade shot past his head. He rolled to the side, pulling Leary with him behind an old wall. "We need cover," he said. Breathless, Leary touched her collar, panic in her eyes. "He's tracking me." Jace looked at her sharply. "Can you turn it off?" She shook her head. "I don't know how." The Reaper's footsteps echoed across the stones. Slow and steady. It wasn't in a rush. It knew they couldn't run forever. Jace pulled out a flash bomb from his belt and tossed it over the wall. The explosion filled the garden with light. The Reaper paused, blinded for just a second. Jace grabbed Leary and ran toward the tunnel exit on the far side. But just as they reached the stairs, something crashed from above. Another Reaper. Now there were 2, trapping them. Jace stood in front of Leary, shielding her with his body. One of the Reapers raised a weapon, a glowing spear that hummed with deadly energy. Leary whispered, "They don't want to kill me." "Not yet. They want to take me back." Jace glanced at her. "Over my dead body." Then, a sudden noise ripped through the night sky. A burning light streaked across the clouds. It was fast, coming straight down. Jace smiled. "Extraction ship," he said. They came. The jump ship slammed into the ground just behind the wall. Its engines screaming as it hovered, its side hatch opened and a voice shouted, "Move now!" Jace turned to run, but the Reapers charged forward. One swung its blade, slashing across Jace's arm. He gritted his teeth and fired again. This time the shot hit the Reaper's leg, slowing it. The other Reaper reached for Leary. She screamed, her hands glowing bright blue. Energy exploded from her chest, throwing the Reaper backward into a wall. The stones cracked, dust filled the air. Leary fell to her knees, shaking. Jace scooped her up and ran, blood trailing from his wounded arm. They jumped into the ship just as the Reapers recovered. The hatch slammed shut. "Go, go!" Jace shouted. The engines roared, lifting them high into the sky. Reapers leaped and fired, but the ship's shield blocked every blast. Within seconds, they were gone, above the clouds, safe for now. Inside the ship, Jace collapsed into a chair. Still holding Leary in his arms, she looked up at him, her voice weak. "Are we safe?" He nodded. "For now." A man stepped out from the cockpit, dressed in worn pilot gear, gray beard, cybernetic eye. "Jace," he said, smiling. "Still rescuing trouble?" "Trouble just saved my life," Jace replied, nodding toward Leary. The pilot knelt beside her, scanning her collar. "What in the stars is this tech?" Jace answered, "Something old, something dangerous. Can you get it off?" The pilot studied it. "Not without the kill code. Without it, the collar's a trap." Leary's hands trembled. "What if it explodes?" Jace held her close. "We won't let that happen." The pilot stood, walking to the control panel. "I'm setting course for the deep orbit station. No one will find you there." As the ship climbed higher, the earth below vanished into clouds and stars. Leary stared out the window. Everything felt too big, too fast. She had lived in a cage all her life, Now she was flying among the stars. She touched the glass gently and whispered, "Is this what freedom feels like?" Jace looked at her. "No," he said softly. "This is just the beginning." But in the Reaper command ship, deep below the planet's surface, something else had awakened. A voice crackled through the darkness. "Subject Leary is off-planet. Initiate Protocol 0. And far beyond the stars, in a hidden system, an ancient machine opened its eyes for the first time in 1,000 years. It spoke only one word: return. The deep orbit station floated in silence, like a silver ghost hiding between the stars. It was old, forgotten by most, but Jace knew it well. A safe house from his days as a soldier. Inside, the air was cold and still. Faint lights guided the way through narrow metal halls. The walls hummed with the sound of power waking up after years of sleep. Jace walked slowly, carrying Leary in his arms. She had fallen unconscious again after the escape. Her body was warm, but her breathing was slow. The collar around her neck still blinked softly, a quiet reminder that time was running out. The pilot, Captain Reeve, led the way. "I powered up the medbay," he said. "Put her there. I'll get the scans running." Jace laid Leary gently on the soft medical pad. Machines around her came to life, scanning her body from head to toe. Reeve looked at the screens, his cybernetic eye blinking as it read the data. His face slowly changed, from curious to shocked to deeply serious. "What is it?" Jace asked. Reeve took a step back and whispered, "She's not just rare. She's impossible." The scan showed something that should not exist. Nanites, tiny machines, were flowing through her blood like stars in a river. Her bones were reinforced with crystal strands. Her brain activity was far beyond normal. And at the center of it all, that black crystal wrapped around her heart, pulsing alive. "Ancient," Reeve said. "This tech, it was banned before the last Galactic War. It was part of something called Project Eden." Jace nodded slowly. "I remember. They tried to build a being who could control entire cities, stop armies, even speak to planets. But the project failed." "No," Reeve said, eyes locked on Leary. "It didn't fail. They just buried the truth." Jace looked at Leary. Sleeping peacefully, she didn't look like a weapon. She looked like a little girl, lost and tired, but inside her was power people would kill for. "What happens if they take her back?" Jace asked. Reeve's voice dropped. "They'll wake the old systems. They'll use her to control the lost worlds. She's the key." Suddenly, the collar beeped louder. The screen flashed. "Remote command detected. Detonation in 60 seconds. Jace froze. "They're trying to kill her." Reeve jumped to the controls. "I'll try to jam the signal," he typed quickly. Sweat on his forehead, the countdown dropped. 50 seconds. 40. Leary opened her eyes slowly. She saw the screen, saw the fear in Jace's eyes. And then she sat up. Her hand reached toward her collar. Her voice was calm. "I can stop it." Jace grabbed her wrist. "No," he said. "It could kill you." But Leary shook her head. "I'm not afraid." She closed her eyes. A soft hum filled the room. The air shimmered, and her skin began to glow. The collar flickered, sparked, and then, snap, it broke apart and fell to the floor. Silent, harmless, Reeve stepped back, stunned. Jace caught her as she swayed. Her voice was weak but proud. "It won't hurt me again." Later, they sat in the quiet control room. Leary drank warm soup while Jace stared at the stars outside. He spoke softly. "I didn't think someone like you could exist. You're part machine, part something else, but inside, you're still just a child." Leary looked up at him. "I don't want to be a weapon," she whispered. "I just want to be free." Jace nodded. "Then we'll make sure of it, no matter what it takes." Suddenly, an alert flashed on the screen. "Incoming signal, unknown origin, encrypted." Reeve frowned. "This isn't from the galaxy we're in." He clicked it open. A voice came through, broken but clear. "Return the subject," it said. "She belongs to us." "You have 24 hours, Jace clenched his fist. "Who sent that?" Reeve checked the code. "It came from the edge of the exile zone. From a system that doesn't exist on the maps anymore." Leary stepped forward, her voice steady. "I know that place, and I've seen it in my dreams. It's where I was made." Jace looked at her with new understanding. "You remember?" She nodded slowly. "I remember pain. Machines. Cold rooms. People calling me a project, but also a voice. A woman. She said, 'You are not a weapon. You're a light. Reeves' eyes narrowed. If she remembers, it means the core is waking up. Her full abilities are coming online. Jace knew what that meant. They had a choice: run forever, or face the past. He turned to Leary. If we go there, we may not come back. They'll do anything to take you. She stood tall, eyes glowing with strength. Then let them try. Outside the station, in the far reaches of dark space, old machines stirred. Massive warships began to move, silent and deadly. Their systems linked to one word pulsing through the void: Leary. The sky outside the station turned red. Ships had arrived, dark and massive, floating like shadows with teeth. Jay stood at the viewing deck, staring at the incoming fleet. 100 warships, maybe more, and all of them wanted one thing. The girl standing beside him, Leary, looked calm, but Jace could feel her shaking inside. Her hands were cold, her heart beating fast. Still, she didn't step back. She didn't hide. Reeve ran in, holding a tablet. They're sending boarding crafts, he said. Armed soldiers, drones. And something bigger. Jace didn't ask what bigger meant, he already knew. Something old. Something made to hunt her. He turned to Leary. We can still escape, he said. There's a wormhole path out of this system. We can disappear forever. But Leary shook her head. If I run now, she said softly, they'll chase me forever. They'll hurt others to find me. Jace stared at her, this small girl with power beyond understanding. He saw not a weapon, but a person, someone brave, someone kind, someone choosing to stand. What do you want to do? He asked. She looked out the window. I want to end it. I want to make sure they never take anyone again. Reeves stepped forward. There's one way, he said slowly. The forge core inside you. It was made to link with the crown system. If you connect to their fleet, you can shut it down. Leary nodded. I can feel them already. Their ships, their AI, like a door waiting to open. But it's risky, Reeve warned. If they control you while you connect, they can turn you into a weapon for real. Jace stepped in. Then we don't let that happen. We protect her until it's done. The station's alarms howled. Enemy troops had landed, time was running out. Jace led Leary to the central core room. The walls glowed with old energy. This place had once been a command station for thousands of systems. Now it would be used for one final stand. Leary stood in the center circle. Lines of light formed around her feet. She closed her eyes and reached inward. The glow inside her chest grew stronger. The forge core awakened above the station. The enemy fleet slowed. Their systems started to freeze. Their weapons locked in place, unable to fire. She's in, Reeves said, eyes wide. She's really doing it. But deep within the flagship of the enemy fleet, something moved, a creature of metal and mind. The last of the Reaper Lords had activated a signal. Override attempt initiated, Leary gasped, her body shaking. They're trying to take control, she cried. I can't stop them alone. Jace ran to her side. He grabbed her hand. You're not alone, he said. Feel me here. Feel Reeve. Feel all the people who believe in you. Leary's eyes opened wide, glowing like twin stars. I choose, she whispered. I choose to be more than they made me. She raised her arms, and a wave of blue light shot out from her body. It passed through the station, then the ships outside. One by one, enemy ships shut down, their lights fading, their engines dying. Even the Reaper Lord screamed as his body turned to dust. The control signal was broken. The war ended without a single shot. Just one voice choosing peace over power. Leary fell to her knees, exhausted. Jace caught her before she hit the ground. You did it, he said, smiling through tears. You really did it. Reeve walked in, stunned. The fleet's gone, he whispered. No survivors and your no weapons are just silence. Leary looked up, her voice soft but sure. They can't hurt anyone now. Not ever again. They stayed on the station for a few more days. Resting, recovering. The galaxy slowly returned to calm. And when the time came, Jace stood with Leary in front of the stars. He asked, where do you want to go now? She smiled. I want to see the green planets. I want to see water and trees and songs. He nodded. Then that's where we'll go. Reeve stayed behind, watching them leave in a small ship. His voice echoed in the quiet station. Good luck, little light, he said, shine far. As they flew away, Leary looked back one last time. She whispered to the stars. You made me in darkness, but I found my way out. I'm not a weapon, I'm free. And for the first time in her life, she believed it.